All right, Steve Spaulding. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming in today.
Hey, no problem. Absolutely.
So, Steve, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you've been up to over the last couple of years?
Oh, man. Name's Steve. Pretty much been in the fitness world, I think, pretty much my entire life. Last couple of years, I got into the gym business. Before that, I've always done bodybuilding. I've always had a love for bodybuilding. I got involved in that when I was basically like a little kid. Not because of Arnold or anything, but primarily because of my father. And my father was kind of like my hero growing up because when I was about 9 or 10, he decided to get into to join the police force here in Columbus.
Interesting.
So he had to get in shape for that. So here I am, this little 9 or 10-year-old kid, and I'd ride a bike with him, and he goes jogging and do all the push-ups and stuff like that. So that's kind of where the whole fitness thing comes into play. And I just got hooked from that point. And then started following. He started buying me like the bodybuilding magazines and all that stuff. And one thing led to another. And then, I kind of got the ambition, I want to do bodybuilding for as a lifestyle, and got into personal training and all that. Probably like my senior in high school, I got my first certification and did that for, since like 2001, I did that. And then worked at Metro, which used to be called World Gym, and did coaching, personal training, all that stuff. I got countless certifications. I actually started at OSU and then started in the dietetics program. Did that for a couple of years. And then unfortunately, I got into a bad motorcycle wreck, near fatal motorcycle wreck, and I had to unenroll. It was kind of unenroll, kind of like they were like, look, you missed too many days at school. Yeah. So I was kind of jaded about that. I still love Ohio State, but that still kind of gets under my skin a little bit, that they kind of kicked me out for that. But and then I did really well at Metro, and then COVID hit. And I was like, oh, man. So that was a mess. And you remember it was like everything shut down. And with my dad being on the force, he told me about a week out, like, hey, they're going to like start shutting everything down. And I kind of went back, told my manager, and everybody was just like, what do we do? And then sure enough, I think it was like a week after the Arnold, they start shutting everything down. Yep. So, at this point, I'm like, I have all these clients to train. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I have to have an income. So I started just kind of going around the Midwest and kind of just like bickering with people over like dickering and stuff, trying to like get equipment and everything. So I was going to like South Carolina, Missouri, Cleveland, Dayton. And then a shout out to a guy, Blockbuster Fitness Equipment out in Dayton. He's really good. He goes in, he was buying out the gyms that were closing and then selling them to me for like pennies on the dollar. Dang. So eventually my house got to the point where I turned my entire garage, like 3-car garage, into like a gym. And my girl's just like, you got to get this stuff out of here. Yeah. So I started looking around, and I was having no luck trying to find something. And then I came across a warehouse over in Roosters in Hilliard, like kind of behind that a little bit. There's actually a CrossFit gym there called Endeavor. And there was an open spot behind that. And the guy's just like, well, the people next to you, they own it. He goes, but I'll see if they want to downsize. And gratefully, they're like, yeah, we'll gratefully downsize. And I took the unit, got it really, really cheap because he had to rent it out because of COVID, because nobody was looking for anything. So I had a place, started putting stuff in there, started training my clients in there. I kept it private for a long time, kind of like a speakeasy. Right. I don't want them knocking on my door, like, what's going on in here? But once COVID kind of started to chill out a little bit and lift up, I opened up more to the public and let more people to come in. And then it just took off. Like this past year, it's taken off so much. We're only 3,000 square feet on the floor. And then upstairs, I think it's about another 800. And then I got 2 front offices. And on the paper now, I got about 129 members. So, and it's crazy because when you go in there, it's never busy. People come in for 45 minutes and then they leave. From 6 a.m. till 10 p.m., they come in, do their thing, and get out. So nice. It's kind of great. And I kind of keep it private too. So I can kind of like pick and choose who I let join. Right. So, which is kind of, I guess, a good thing in today's day and age. But it's doing good. It's called Flex Barbell Club in Hilliard. Usually around the Arnold, we have some people come in and from out of town or whatnot that just want to come in and work out without being bothered. So there's a lot of people come in from like the gyms downtown, and they're so crowded. Oh yeah. And we're only, I'd say that part of Hilliard's maybe like 8 or 9 miles. Yeah. from that
15 minutes, if that.
Yeah. So people are like messaging me like, I got to get an hour workout without being bothered. I'm like, okay, come on. So I'll leave and go let them in. And usually I'm down at the Arnold too. So I'll just leave, go let them in, and then drive back down on the Arnold. So it's a crazy time. But so yeah, the gym's doing good. And then about 5 years ago, I told my girl, I was like, I really want to try to seriously get my pro card. I was like, I've tried here and there, but never seriously like buckled down and focused on it. And it was always a goal of mine. Like I grew up idolizing like Lee Priest, Kevin Leone. You were mentioning Flex Wheeler. Like
sat in that chair.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Maybe not that exact chair, but we switched them around. But.
Yeah. But those guys, I've met them so many times at the Arnold, such great people. And just growing up idolizing those guys, it's like, man, I'd really like to do that. So I gave myself, and I told her, I was like, look, 5 years, I want to really try, see if I can do it. So at that point, the first 2 years were kind of like a crapshoot. Everything was a mess. You're trying to compete during COVID, and it was a mess. And eventually, like the MPC and the IFBB, which are the main leagues, MPC is like the amateur league, and IFB is the pro league. They had to move everything to like Florida. So everything was in Pittsburgh or Florida.
Right.
And then Pittsburgh kind of cracked down a little bit more. So then eventually, like everything went to Orlando. And I went down there a couple of times, and it was just like I kept striking out, kept getting like bridesmaid. And I'm just like, how much more of the second place am I going to take?
Do you have to win a competition to become an IFBB pro? Is that how it works?
You usually got to win your class.
Your class.
So, and then at one point I was like, okay, I'm 36. I was like, maybe I'll try the Masters. I'll try Masters Nationals. So I tried that and did really good. It was the best I came in. I think I weighed in at like 242 and ended up winning my class and winning the overall. So that was one of my biggest accomplishments in life, and that was great. So
that would be an open bodybuilding class. Is that what that is considered?
Yeah, you got well, Masters Nationals is they have like a 35 and up, a 40 and up, 45. I forget the total breakdown of it, but they go all the way up to like 80 years old.
Jeez,
it's crazy. Yeah. So,
but you specifically are competing in like open bodybuilding, because I know there's like physique and
open bodybuilding.
I mean, you're a big guy. I don't think you're a physique guy. No. But they also have
I wouldn't meet the requirement for that.
Yeah. So is that a weight requirement? Is that where that falls, or is it like a ratio type thing?
Open pro is just open pro, unless you're doing like the 212. They have the 212. You got classic physique, which is height weight proportionate, and then
weight proportion,
which is the same for height for men's physique. So open bodybuilding is just open bodybuilding. So it doesn't matter if I'm 245 and I'm going up against somebody that's 275.
Right.
So it's kind of like, oh crap.
So what does separate like a professional level competitor and an amateur? Is it size? Is it quality? Is it leanness?
I would say it's all of the above. It's having that look, having that muscle maturity, muscle density. Usually, if you go to the amateur shows, you got like the amateur, and then you get the nationals, and the nationals is where you qualify. The national level shows are where you can qualify to get your pro card. Yeah. So essentially, when you go and you do a national level show, they're already looking for people that are already pretty much at that level, that are already like pro material. So, and it's when you're around it so long, you kind of get that eye for it, and you kind of can look at somebody and be like, okay, that's the guy. That guy's got pretty physique, good clean lines, very balanced. That's kind of what they look for, and they set the standard for. So it's class dependent too. Classic physique, what they're looking for is completely different than open. So it's completely two different looks that they're looking for, but essentially around the board, you got to have good conditioning. You can't go up there and have a term that we use called soggy glutes. You gotta be lean, you gotta be diced, you gotta have clear muscle definition, vascularity, fullness. It's really hard to nail it because you do all this dieting and you get as lean as you can, and you suffer and you go through it. And then the week of the show, everybody calls peak week. And, people that probably aren't in that good a shape try this like voodoo stuff. Think, maybe if I pull my water, and it's like, well, no, you're just still kind of fat. Yeah. So that's where you can really kind of mess things up, is that last week. So it's really hard to nail it. But once you do and you get that pro card, it's the greatest high. It's great, man. It's awesome. But as far as like separating between the amateurs and the pros, it's just definitely size, definitely the muscle conditioning. just the overall appearance. A lot of it's posing too. A lot of people will, you can tell they don't practice their posing. You get to like 2 or 3 rounds up there and they're like huffing and puffing, and you can get docs for that. Like the judges look at that and they go, okay, this guy's clearly not in that good a shape.
Interesting. So it's like sort of like a physical competition, not just
it
the way
is,
you look.
People always be like, oh, it's a beauty pageant, but at the same time, it's like you have to practice your posing. And I tell everybody this. It's like, come with me and I'll run you through posing. I'll run you through 5 rounds any day at my gym. You can ask Steve, like these kids will be up there just like sweating.
Yeah,
just
I believe it.
Drenched in sweat, learning that mind muscle connection, learning when to flex certain body parts, when not to, how to contort the body, how to pose. Like it's hard, man. Like if you're a newbie at it, like the next day your back's sore, your arms, everything's so sore because to learn how to contort your body and contract the muscle, it's hard to do. People underestimate bodybuilding and how hard it is up there. Not to mention when you're up on stage, sometimes those stage lights in the auditorium are so damn hot.
Yeah. Right.
And it's just like, the good thing is like at the pro levels, if everybody's up there just kind of starting to sweat or the tan's starting to run, they'll like pause the show and come out and like tap you down and like kind of fix you, whatever, which is good, which is cool. That's the biggest difference I've noticed from the amateur level to the pro level is at the pro level. It's like, I did a pro show not too long ago in August in Florida, and they were the nicest hosts down in Destin, Florida. And totally nice. Like they gave us all these like those military book bags, utility book bags, jugs of free protein, like all this other stuff. I mean, I was just like, wow, like this is great. And then of course you win cash prizes too, which is always a good plus.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what does the business of bodybuilding look like now? I know you talked about some of your heroes, and when Flex was here, he was like, man, it was so good in the 80s. You could make so much money.
Oh, yeah.
You just sign with the sponsor and they'd give you $250,000 a year. And he's like, you just do 2 or 3 photo shoots and don't really have that big of a commitment, But he's like, yeah, it's just so totally different now. And
he's right. It's changed like so much from, I mean, even when I was getting into it to now, how much it's changed. And I'm not going to lie, like I've kind of like the social media stuff. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to use my age as an excuse, but being 39 and looking at all these young kids and how much time it takes to invest into edit videos and all this other stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sitting here like running a business. I got 2 kids and I'm sitting here like, what's an app? What's an editing app? I'm like asking Kayla, like, how do I do this? And I'm like, how do I do these videos so good and all this other stuff? And now I can see why a lot of people just pay somebody to do it.
Oh yeah.
But I think the main difference is between like what Flex was talking about to now is back then the supplement companies took care of you.
Yeah.
And your only obligation was to show up to either events like the Arnold Expo. There's a big expo every year, the Pittsburgh Pro, which is in May. You did different events. You had the LA Fit Expo. You got these different expos that you go to and you get paid to show up to, but you're bound by a contract as well. And then you had like the Weeder contracts and all this other stuff. So back in the day, like Flex is right. Like you had all these contracts and you could focus on training. A lot of those guys are trained twice a day, cardio twice a day and all their stuff. Today's day and age, companies are relying on you to do all that work. You do your own social media. You have to promote us. You have to do this, you that. Compared to in the past, they promoted you.
Right.
And you didn't do anything really. Because back then, obviously, you didn't have the capacity or the tools to really do it like a company would.
Right.
So I know when I first got into it, when I was 19, I was fortunate enough to have a connection to get with Metrics.
Yeah.
And the Metrics was just releasing their, I guess, like kind of like their subline, which was called Body Fortress.
Yeah.
Their same company.
Still a thing, right?
Yeah.
I think it's their like Walmart brand,
Yeah, but actually I think Body Fortress, I mean, being in Walmart and all, that's kind of like their main crop right now because you don't see Metrics a whole lot around anymore.
Well, there's a lot of companies that kind of, I mean, Muscle Farm being one of them. I had Josh Shaw in here and he worked at Muscle Farm sort of through that like golden era. And now they're like a Costco and Walmart brand. And he's like, they're a good company. They're not what they were, but
same with Muscle Tech. Like Muscle Tech had 6-star.
Yeah.
And 6-star still, every time we go to Walmart, it's still there.
Yeah.
But, it's changed a lot. Like I was fortunate enough to land with them and I was getting, I think it was like $500 or $550 a month, like just cash. And then they were also giving me my supplement allowance, which my supplement allowance, they paid you in like servings. So the amount of servings I think it was like 350 or like 400.
That's hilarious.
So if you look at a jug of like 5 pounds of protein, there was like 72 servings. So do the math on that.
Yeah.
So like every month I had like, remember the RTDs?
Oh yeah.
The RTD 50s, I think they were called.
Yep.
The cans. One of those cans I think was like considered 5 points, 5 servings. So I just have like cases of all this protein, and like I couldn't give the stuff away fast enough because every month I got to order with them and everything.
That's hilarious.
But it was great. Like I got $550 a month, and then if I had to go to Pittsburgh, about once a month, I usually had to go somewhere in the Midwest or travel. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, and then just to show up on that, I got like I think it was like $200 or $250 a day, and then at the end of the year, I had to send in all my receipts, and they would reimburse you.
That's pretty sweet.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking to Flex. He's like, I don't know why it's not like that anymore. And I was like, well, there's so many influencers now. Like you were like
bingo,
one of 8 or 10 guys that had like the best physique in the world, right? So those 8 or 10 guys are like the top. Mm-hmm. But now, like, who's number one? It's like, oh, I don't know, some kid on the internet who's got like 1 million followers on Instagram.
It's so weird.
Some girl, like Sam Sulek, that guy came out of nowhere and just like he just posting his videos, talking. I mean,
he's from here. He's from the north end of town.
Really?
Yeah, he's from here.
Didn't know that.
He because occasionally I'll go up to Metro Fitness up in Worthington, and which was the main location when it was World Gym or whatever. Yeah. That's like the main hub location. And for years I worked at Hilliard, and I still go up there occasionally just to kind of get out of my gym, just be like, I got to get out of here. I want to go lift somewhere else. And a couple trainers and people I know up there were like, oh yeah, Sam's up here. And I remember he started posting his YouTube videos, and I'm like, that's Metro North. I'm like, I know that.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, it turns out, he kind of lives up in that area. So
well, it's good crop of people coming out of there.
I'm sure you know, like Columbus is. For the fitness market, Columbus is huge. Like I would put Columbus up against it. Everybody talks about moving to Florida, moving to Vegas and all that stuff. Like Columbus is huge. I mean, I would always say Columbus at heart has been probably a little bit more powerlifting just because of Westside Barbell.
Yep.
I don't know. Have you ever been there?
Oh yeah. I've spent an okay amount of time with Louie.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Awesome guy. Awesome
ate
guy.
breakfast with him on multiple occasions because we did some business with Westside, and we still do. We still sell some of their stuff on Amazon.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah.
Tom's a good friend over there.
I was with him when I was really young. I would occasionally go over and lift when their place was over on like the west side, over off Demorest Road.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a total dump.
Yeah. Well, it didn't get a whole lot nicer when they moved. They kept the aesthetic.
They're on Valley View now, right?
I haven't been. Oh, yeah. So they're back there. They're fun guys over there. I really appreciate them, and haven't had the chance. I'm not the type of guy that would fit into there, so just like being in the gym and like seeing everybody.
He lightened up as he got older. He let more types of people in, but it was when I was growing up, like when I was a teenager and stuff, and we would go over there. You're just like scared shitless. You're just like, all these guys are like walking around, and it's like probably one of the nicest guys I ever met. From there was a guy named Mike Rogeria. This guy was, huge. His neck was just humongous guy, but the nicest, most sweetheart dude you ever meet. And I was lifting between there and the West Side Worlds, and Rogeria would come in and the pointers he would give to me and everything and all that other stuff. Because when I started working out, I liked powerlifting more actually. Mm-hmm. I liked the challenge of lifting heavy and going all that, but after a couple tweaks in the chest and tweaked my back and all, I was like, maybe I'll try bodybuilding.
What do they say? The weight always wins. You know,
the weight always wins.
Eventually you just like get up to these 800-pound squats, 900-pound squats, and there's West Side right there.
Oh yeah,
that's what it looks like. White walls.
It's pretty basic.
A lot of their equipment's like older. There's Louie. Legend, man. Legend. Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have had the chance to meet him and spend some time with him.
The old chalkboard.
Yep. So you started powerlifting. So I know you said that you at age 19 competed in your first show. Is that right?
Yeah, I did my first show. Actually, technically, 2003. I dieted for like 3 weeks and did the Ohio. I don't count that because that's like a race because it was so bad. Yeah, I didn't know what. I just took a flyer and showed up because I thought I was lean and thought I was like high school built.
Yeah,
and I was like, like high school football kid built.
Yeah,
and Yeah, so that doesn't count. But like right after that is when I got into a bad motorcycle wreck. And I think a lot of the drive to compete came from that. And I think from that accident happening, that was like a very life-altering situation. And I was just like, okay, I need to like clean my shit up. And because at that point I was like, I like to work out, but it was like work out, party on the weekends, you know, freshman in college, doing whatever the hell I want, acting like an idiot. And because of that, I guess it was a blessing in disguise because it kind of straightened me up and was just like, okay, like you can't keep doing this. Like, you know, you're going to be 19 years old. So when I got in that wreck and was told, I almost lost my leg. Like they took me, it was at Mount Carmel. So I got hit on the west side of Columbus. And when I woke up from the accident, like my head was cracked open and my foot was like up here near like my ribs. And it's pretty nasty. So when I saw that, I like passed out and woke up in an ambulance and they were like, do you want to go to Doctors West? I was like, no. I'm like, Doctors West was right there. And back then Doctors West had this reputation of like, if you go under, you're going to come out with 4 arms. It's not like that now, but back then. So I was like, no, Mount Carmel. So, which is ironic because that's where I was born. And when they took me there, like I kept fading in and out. And I remember them having to use the defib on me, which is crazy. So like my mom's getting phone calls. My mom's flipping out. She's passing out in the hallway. And it's like, so what they do is like my leg was so swelled up and so broken, like my femur completely broke, my hip broke. And it was bad. Compound skull fracture, blew my kneecap off. So like my kneecap now is plastic. Yeah, it was a pretty bad wreck. I was going on Norton Road, which at the time was a 2-lane road. And the guy shot across the road and luckily it was a Dodge Neon. So my options real quick was swerve to the left and hit a Dodge Ram head on. I wouldn't be here. Yeah. Or it was go to the right and just, try to avoid this guy. So when I swung my and I had a nice little, remember the Gixxer 750s? That's what I had. It was sweet. Just got it painted. Just got everything got painted flat black with a mini Fireball red on it. So when the sun hit it, it sparkled red. Sweet. I was so proud of this, man. It was great. All my skins looked awesome. And then bam, 3 weeks later I get hit. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm sitting there. So I swerved around him, took off the whole front bumper of this Neon with my left leg. Kind of proud of that. So
absolute unit.
Absolute.
Taking apart a car.
So long story short, I ended up having to get, they took me to the amputation room because they shot dye in my leg and couldn't get a pulse. And my dad at the time was on 10th Precinct, which is like the west side of Columbus. West side, not like Hilltop. And he was just like, he comes flying in, still in his uniform. And I was so incoherent in and out of it that he basically like spoke for me and was just like, can you try one more time? Wow. And they came into the room. And if you ever seen these machines, it's crazy. They fire them up. I mean, it's like, it's scary. Like I was just like, I'm about to lose my leg. Jeez. So basically we went against doctor's orders and ended up having to sign all this legal paperwork saying they're not held accountable, if I get an infection or anything else, because we were going against the doctor's orders. So that was kind of scary. And my mom, I could hear my mom like screaming out in the hallway. Like she's overly dramatic. And a fair time to be dramatic. Yeah. So I ended up doing that. They ended up keeping me in the hospital for about 2 weeks, just pumping me full of antibiotics to make sure my leg doesn't get infected. And what happened was they ended up getting like a little pulse on the screen. And then because of that little pulse, they're like, all right, he can keep his leg, but you got to sign all this legal paperwork. And that was, thank God. But it took me a long time, and still to this day, like you can ask Steve, like sometimes at the gym, I'll kind of have like this little like pirate limp. And a lot of it's just due to the fact that they had to pull my whole femur bone out. It was just like somebody went in with a hammer and just smashed the hell out of it. So they ended up going in there, taking my kneecap off, dislocating it, and then taking like this like vacuum little thing up there and like sucking all the bone out. And then they put a titanium rod in, and then they had to put a plastic kneecap on pretty much. And then I had to rehab that. So that was fun to do. What's life like with that now? How does it feel? It actually feels better than my right leg. That's crazy. So now it's like my right leg sometimes in the morning, I'm like, man, that's the age 40 crap hitting me. But it's cool. Like the only thing that kind of throws it off is sometimes is like if I haven't got my back adjusted or got my hips adjusted in a while, just from the nature of getting that put in, like my left leg's a little bit shorter than my right. So if I don't get adjusted frequently, like once a month or every other couple months, like it throws my pelvic girdle off. So I'll just kind of walk like kind of like a little bit of a limp, like a little bit of a gimp, I guess, or whatnot. But as long as I stretch and I keep myself fresh and everything, don't let everything get tightened up, like I'm usually pretty good. But yeah, sometimes like you notice it. Like Steve said stuff to me before, like, "You all right?"
Yeah. Well, that's crazy then. So you have this accident happen, and how was it that you decided, okay, yeah, I'm going to become a bodybuilder now? I mean, because it sounds like you powerlifted a little, you played sports, you know?
Yeah, football, wrestling.
You were always active, but to make the leap, okay, now I become a bodybuilder. Like I'm kind of.
I think it was a combination of I still wanted to do something sport related. I'm a very competitive person. And then I also think it was definitely the influence of having doctors tell me, you know, you might not walk again. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I remember just sitting in the hospital, just getting pissed off, just like, oh no, you got to be in this. You got to be in this wheelchair for 6 months. And I think the most humiliating thing was, and by all means, I don't mean this towards people that are on like government assistance or anything, but that was probably the most demoralizing thing for me because I'm very independent and I knew I couldn't work. And I remember the lady coming into the hospital saying like, hey, you know, you're gonna need help paying your bills. You're gonna need help with food and all that other stuff. And I'm just sitting here like, is this really my life? And I'm just like, yeah, this sucks. So happened to do that, which thank God, I think in that circumstance, I think it's where it definitely helps people. And so for 6 months, I kind of got a little bit of government assistance to get me off my feet. But at the same time, I think it really lit a fire under me. And I was just like, I felt like helpless, and I don't like feeling helpless. Yeah. And the fact that they said that, you know, you're not going to be able to walk right again. So, you know, they said wheelchair for 6 months. Within 2 months, I was walking with a walker, and my grandmother at the time, even when I was in the wheelchair, I mean, I think it was 2 weeks once I got out, she would start taking me to the gym and she would drop me off and I would go in there and I'd work out for 2-3 hours, hang out with everybody. Cause I worked there too. So it was kind of like my home away from home. And, this is back when this wasn't the Hilliard. This was when it was World Gym and we had a location on the west side, which is kind of where the casino's at now. So the gym was behind, Westland Mall in a little strip mall. And man, talk about a hardcore gym. I mean, it was every bit, you know, like maybe a couple steps below Westside Barbell. So there's a lot of good stories in there, and a lot of guys from Westside would come over. But she'd come in, drop me off, and then she'd be like, "Okay, just call and you want me to pick you up?" And I would just sit there and hang out with everybody. And then I rehabbed my legs to the point where I could start using a walker, and then I started using one crutch. And then there was a show in end of March, early April of 2004 called the Northern Kentucky. And this guy Shiloh I knew at the time, who was another big influence. He was like the man. He was the big local bodybuilder on the scene at the time. And he's like, dude, he goes, you should do it. And I'm like looking at my leg, like, dude, my leg's like 20 inches. Like it's so like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to enter the teenage and then do the open men light heavy. So I trained my ass off. This is probably end of December and the show was in April. And I was always been a naturally lean kid. So I trained for the show and ended up getting like first in teenage and then got like third in the open. And I was completely just blown away. And just the regimen of it, and Shiloh helped me a lot, got me ready for it. And at that point I was just like hooked. I was just like, this is great. And I knew it, you know, I knew I still had to bring my leg up and everything. And I had like all these pins in my knee and I eventually got those all taken out and everything. But I think it's just a culmination of it's your traditional people tell you no, and you're just like, F you. Like, like I'm going to do it. And I think in a way, like bodybuilding kind of saved me and it put a lot of structure in my life and organization. But I also do want to credit like wrestling, because you look at like wrestlers and UFC fighters and stuff, very regimented, you know, with your diet, your training, your nutrition, you know, bodybuilding's right up there with it. So I credit a lot of growing up wrestling and having to cut weight and everything to being able to do bodybuilding, because it is not easy.
Where do you think your life would have gone if that accident hadn't happened?
I probably would have followed my dad's footsteps, to be honest.
Interesting.
I think I would end up being a police officer too. You know,
even though you were at Ohio State and you were doing dietetics.
Yeah, I think at that point I was really kind of bitter at Ohio State. for that happening. And I was just kind of salty about it. I'm just like, here I am, like in a wheelchair, and you're going to like kind of kick me out of school. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I was kind of ticked off about it. For a couple of years, I wouldn't even watch. And I'm a big high state football fan, basketball fan. I wouldn't even watch football games. I was so bitter about it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of led me to, for a second, I pondered like, maybe I should try the police force. And my dad was just like, I'd love to have you as a cop. He goes, but I did ride-alongs with him, and it's just like the stuff he'd put up with. And I'm just like, I love bodybuilding so much, and I'm like, I'm going to see what I can do with this personal training, helping people. And I always wanted to help people, whether it was help people through being a police officer or it was help the community and people through fitness and health. And I chose the fitness and health. And I figured that would be better option for me. And I think with the experience I was already getting, that was kind of the route I went. And I remember, even at that point, like through high school, I started reading. My dad was buying me nutrition books. One of the first books I got was a bodybuilding book by a very popular coach named Chris Aceto.
Okay.
So, and Chris, I don't know if Chris worked with Flex or not, but I got one of his books, and then I'd read things from another popular trainer out there, Charles Glass.
Yep.
Yeah, great guy. Like his Instagram page always to this day has tons of cool stuff on it. But I'd always read up on them. Every time the Arnold would roll around, I'd ask him like a million. I was that annoying kid that was in high school that asked him like a million questions. There's like a line of people wanting to talk to these guys.
Come on, kid.
They're just like, come on, buddy, get out of here. But it definitely helping people and seeing people get results that want the help, I think is probably the most rewarding thing out of anything, out of even my bodybuilding. I put training clients above that. So, and it's definitely life altering when you can help somebody and help them get their goals. That to me, that's more of a feeling than winning a show. So, but that's kind of brought me to this point.
Yeah. So you train people highly in bodybuilding, obviously, but a variety of different sports and
everybody from like a high school kid that's getting ready for football or wrestling. I train that type of client to people that are competing, whether it's like a girl that wants to compete in bikini or a guy that wants to do classic bodybuilding or open bodying, men's physique. Majority of my clients, honestly, are people that just want to live a healthy lifestyle or want to lose weight or want to gain weight or just improve their overall health.
Just look good.
Yeah. And that's probably 75% of my clientele. It used to be flipped a few years ago, but I think after COVID, I kind of went more towards just we call them like lifestyle clients that just basically they don't compete or anything. They just want to improve their life for the most part. And those are great just to help the dad on the block get in better shape and have a more buffed up dad bod. I think is pretty cool.
So what is the difference between training for life and general fitness versus bodybuilding? Because I think a lot of people think maybe they're the same, but
huge difference. I mean, just the structure of the programming and a lot of it's mentality too. And a lot of it is being a trainer, you have to know the difference. I can't sit there and give Susie soccer mom the same plan that I might give like my one client Molly for a bodybuilding show. There is no way that Sally's going to stick to that.
Just too much.
It's too regimented. It's too strict. It's you have to eat this time at this time every day. It's very, very bland diet. When you're getting ready for a show, you have to break down and monitor everything you're eating. I mean, it's from like condiments to too many energy drinks. Girls are, why am I bloated? Why is this? Why is that? When in reality, most people that just want to get a little bit healthy, like, soccer mom Sally, she might need to lose 20 pounds. No way in the world does she need to be put on a bodybuilding diet. She'll quit in 4 days. She just needs a little bit of structure, needs a little bit of a calorie reduction, still let her eat good foods, and just give her a little bit of variety. The key to most of it is variety. If you, with bodybuilding, you're eating the same thing at the same time, day in, day out. With normal people, you want to give them like a couple options for breakfast, a couple options for lunch, a couple options for dinner, a post-workout shake, a little bit of, give them, depending on what their individual goals are, if they need any type of supplementation. stuff like that as far as vitamins and minerals. Just real basic. You want to keep it basic with those people, because if you overcomplicate it and you start throwing a lot of things at them, they're just like, oh, this is too much, and then they end up quitting.
Yeah.
So you got to find a balance with them, and it's a lot easier to work with those people when you give them variety. So a lot of times people they're more like gypsies. They're just all over the place. So, and you got it. When people have that gypsy mentality, it's hard to put like structure in the stuff. So, that's the main difference, is the type of program you give them. And then kind of listening, you have to listen to your client. You know, if you know that there's somebody that's very regimented, like with Steve, for example, him, you know, he can stick to stuff really, really good compared to some of my other clients where it's like, I have to give them like 2 or 3 different options at each meal or they're going to go crazy, or I have to change their plan every month. The macros might essentially be the same, but I got to like switch the foods up for that point. So the main thing is just listen to the person, listen to the client, listen to them, get the information you need, get their background, and figure out like, what do I got to do to make this as easy as possible. Excuse me. But one thing I learned that is when you try to give somebody a program and they think that they have to switch their whole world and turn it upside down for that program, they're going to fail. You want to design a program that's going to fit into their daily lifestyle that they have already, that they can kind of just slide into there and they're going to make it work. When they try to rearrange their whole entire life for a workout program, it's not going to last very long.
Yeah.
And that's generally why most people, when they come in for New Year's and stuff, they come in and then by February, by Valentine's Day, they're eating 2 boxes of chocolates. Because the program that they started at the beginning of the year, they try to rearrange their whole entire life for, and it's not going to work. And the older you get, you know, people got kids. People are nowadays working 2 jobs. So it's like, when are you going to fit time to go to the gym? So that's when you look at somebody's program and you go, okay, so I see that you have a little bit of time right here. Let's slide you in for like a 30-minute workout on these days, and these days. Or let's get you into the gym on your days that you don't work, and then just make the most of it that way. So that's kind of how you got to kind of fit the programming into their daily life. Because nowadays, I mean, with how everything is, everybody's so busy and running around just trying to make ends meet and everything. So it's kind of how I view it.
What about the actual components of the strength training they're going to be doing? Presumably, you know, soccer mom Sally doesn't really need bicep curls that much, you know, but tell me how you would think about that.
She would still do them. Absolutely. I still feel that, you know, bodybuilding, especially bodybuilding training, can be applied to everybody.
Okay.
You know, and when you look at the structure, obviously if she's coming in, she's not going to be doing like powerlifting or doing, you know, 5 sets of triples and all that other stuff. So depending on her goals, if she's got to lose weight or if she doesn't have very good muscle tone, or if she already lost a lot of weight, and a lot of people will come in that have like saggy skin and all that other stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. So a lot of that's just kind of, in that circumstance, you'd want to fill the muscle out. So you'd want to get strength training. You want them to be challenged. You don't want to come in and be like, oh, here's some 10-pound weights, you know, do some curls and, you know, be on your way. Like you want to, like, I'm kind of like that tough love trainer. Like if I don't think you're giving your all, like I'm going to call you out. And that's either like a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
And Steve can contest to that. I've had some clients that I'll just like go off on them. And I'm just like, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what was that? Or like if they've been there a while and I see that their form's kind of sucking and slacking off, I'll be like, dude, what was that? Well, I did my reps. No, like that was like 7. Well, I did 10. No, those last 3 don't count. That was horrible form. So I try to always instill in everybody, like form is always number one. Always train to where it burns a little bit. If I look over and you're just doing your curls like this and you're just kind of looking around, like I'm going to be like, okay, you're not challenging yourself. We're going to take it up in weight. And they're like, what do you mean up in weight? And I'm like, no, we're going to go heavier. So as far as training goes, like even like Sally, you know, I'm going to train her kind of similar to how like a competitor would. So I train everybody pretty similar. Wouldn't you say, Steve? The only difference would be like if somebody was new to completely weightlifting, I wouldn't throw them into like a little group. I would train them on their own for a little bit and see if they're going to fit. And that's where I think the main difference is. Get them up to par first, because I don't think it's fair to somebody that is very, very new to working out or had a long break and expect to like to throw them into the fire, because number one, it's going to slow down the current group, and then they're going to be like, they're going to be frustrated and everything. And then it's going to be frustrating for the client too. And it's not fair to that new client that they're kind of being thrown to the wolves. So I try to bring everybody up to par to where everybody can fit in. So to me, that I think would be the biggest difference. But as far as training goes, I think, bodybuilding training is very universal. You might have to tweak a little bit of things here and there, but for the most part, I think it benefits everybody. I've had clients that were in their 60s. I would train them the same as like clients in my 20s. Obviously, weight dependent. I'm not going to throw some guy that's benching, if he's 65 years old and he's only benching 115. I'm like, all right, let's max out at 300. Like, you're not going to do that stuff. But as far as the training principles go, they're not that much different, really.
So your kind of thought is that just gaining muscle essentially all over the body in any way, shape, or form is going to lead to better health results, better look, better feel, better confidence, and then also, as you get to older people, more stability, functionality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is when you get older is trying to maintain as much muscle mass as possible. So you're basically competing against like father time. And a lot of it's your genetics too. But the older you get, you try to instill proper nutrition in people, and you want to make sure that, functionality is an important thing. And if you don't have that much muscle mass, functionality becomes an issue, arthritis, back becomes weakened, lower back issues. So if you can help these people kind of keep a good, sustainable amount of muscle and strength, you will alleviate a lot of those problems. And that, I think, is when you start, like for me, like being 39 this year, I'm like, okay, how many more years am I realistically going to compete? Maybe 3 or 4 more years. And then at that point, it's like, okay, the whole mindset usually switches, and I don't know, Flex probably talked about it, is when you retire and you get older, your mind changes. You're like, okay, I want to be more functional. I want to be more, functionally healthy. You want to do different things. And compared to like when you're in your 20s, you think you're like Thanos. You
just want to be a Greek god, man. That's all you want. I just want to take my shirt off. People go, "What is that?" There's this Dorian Yates quote. He's on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he's like, when I started bodybuilding, I already had a good physique. He's like, so I decided I'm going to just take it as far as I possibly can go. I just want to see how big I can get, how strong I can get, how ripped I can get. He's like, I didn't want people to say like, oh yeah, he's got a nice body. I wanted to take my shirt off. People go, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. That was a great, when he was on Rogan, that was great.
No, but it's interesting you say that, because I was just listening to a podcast, and I try to get my parents to like think about this. My mom is like pretty dang fit. I think she's 60. Her birthday was actually yesterday. I think she turned 66.
Oh, happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah. So we're going to go see her after this. But she's super fit. She's like very fit for a 66-year-old. But she does like a lot of cardio. That's like her thing. But I'm like, you got to do some strength. Like, it's not going to take you that much to like get stimulus. Like I had to buy her like a little band, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm like really sore off these like bands. But my dad, he kind of just is obsessed with like skinnier, because he was very, very heavy at a point in time. And I was listening to this other podcast, and this person was kind of saying that in the war between like skinny and or like healthy muscle, like being skinny won essentially. So everyone's obsessed with like get smaller, especially as you get to like these older populations of people. I think the younger group of people, they kind of understand like you have to hold some amount of muscle.
Right.
But almost probably you see this all the time. You'll have a guy or girl come in, like you said, they have like 30 pounds more fat than they need or should have, and they're like, I want to lose weight. And you're like, okay, we're going to start lifting. They're like, no, I want to no, I need to do we need to get on the treadmill, right?
Yeah.
And I just keep like trying to tell my parents, I'm like, no, you need to like, yes, you can lose weight, but lifting weights will help you with that, because you kind of what Stan Efferding would say, like you build a bigger engine, right?
Right. Yeah,
you don't,
exactly.
Pull fuel out of the car, you build a bigger engine.
It's, I mean, you hit it right on the nail, man. That's the women that come in are like, well, I want muscle tone, but I don't want to be bulky. I don't want to look like those big muscular women in the magazines. And I'm like, honey, you're never going to.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah.
I was like, there's a reason why they look that way, and we won't get in,
You can have them call me, because I've been lifting like pretty consistently my whole life. I played soccer in college. I mean, lifted, I basically didn't know what I was doing for the first 10 or so years, but I like my joke is like I look like a 17-year-old boy, you know, like you're not going to get big. Like if I can't get big, you're probably not going to get big, you know. Your genetics obviously are different. Your training's different though.
Yeah.
Your supplementation, diet, everything, your focus is way different. Like as a girl, you are not going to get big.
No,
like,
they don't, a lot of people understand like your genetics are a majority of it. And, you know, in my circumstance, my mom's side of the family, you know, they were not skinny, but husky, I guess. And then my father's side is like, all the guys are like 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah.
And I'm 5'10", so somehow I'm like the tallest guy for the most part.
Towering over them
Yeah,
at
but
the
they're
family
just
reunion.
great genetics. Like my dad's like, I think he's 60 or 61. I think he'll be 61 next year. And he goes to Roosters like easily twice a week. And the guy still has like abs.
Yeah.
I'm like, you little son of a...
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, kind of blessed in that department for the most part, but I think your nutrition and everything is a majority. But yeah, like you said, you get the ladies that come in and they're like terrified. They're like, oh, if I lift weights, I'm going to look like the old wrestler China. And you're like, no, that's not going to happen. And you got to kind of explain to them like this, you know, to be toned, you got to have muscle to be toned, and you have to eat like this and eat the, you know, this. Yeah. A lot of the misconception is just people aren't taught, and it doesn't help when you live in a society that doesn't really, for the most part, out of like the fitness industry, they don't really preach what to eat and what not to eat. So, and that's when you start to get into like the obesity epidemic, and you know, that's a whole rabbit hole you could go down with.
Well, I do want to talk to you about that.
They want people overweight. They want people fat.
Well, you know, I think one of the things that happened, bodybuilding became so big, like with Arnold and everything, and then I think like women's bodybuilding it never was like big, right? It was always niche, but that they sort of took the men's model and were like, we're going to do this for women too. So girls saw these like female bodybuilders and they're like, yep, don't want to look like that. That is not what I want to look like.
It's
it's basically impossible to look like that unless you're doing some very significant
unless you got tons of our hormones pumping through your body. It's changed though. Like in the early years, 80s and 90s, like when Flex and all those guys were coming up, you had like Corey Iverson, and she would, like today, she would be considered probably a little bit more of a buff bikini girl, and she was women's bodybuilding. And back in the day, like a woman today could look at Corey and be like, that's very obtainable. She's hot. She looks great. Very feminine.
Want to pull her up? What's her name?
Corey Iverson.
Corey Iverson.
Yeah, Cory. Like she was very, very good influence. And even for bodybuilding.
Maybe not the firefighter, Corey Iverson. This is a famous firefighter that he has his own
bodybuilder
Wikipedia page and everything. Oh yeah, she looks good.
Yeah, I mean that would, like today she'd be considered like fitness, and
yeah, they're in the middle left. I mean she's doing a lot, but yeah, I mean she looks great. You know, very fit, but yeah, to your point, not like overly muscular.
Yeah, look up another one that was in the fitness. Look up Monica Brandt. That was like my crush when I was young, when I was getting into bodybuilding. Brandt. Now, see, like her physique, like women could look at me like, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
see, that's obtainable.
It's a great physique, obviously.
Yeah. See, to a young girl or a girl that's getting into working out, like they could look at Monica and be like, wow, I could really be like her. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, when you look at some of the bodybuilder, it's a big difference. And I think
difference, yeah.
The NPC and the IFBB realized that, like, okay, we got to do more than one class.
Yeah, people don't really like this.
Yeah, no. So it's been a long history for the women, and it's great to see more women in it. And, you know, and like when bikini came along, which is good for me as a coach, because that's like your bread and butter as a coach, is the bikini girls. But when I think the first year for bikini was like 2009, and oh boy, was it fun. It was basically like girls that just walked off the dance floor, if you know what I mean. And they're up there just like shaking their ass and doing all this stuff. And I'm just sitting at these national shows like, this isn't going to last for another year.
Yeah.
So they finally slowly started implementing different rules to it. And then getting, you know, girls would just go into PacSun and buying suits off the rack. And then slowly, like the suit makers that made suits for like the figure girls, we're like, hey, you know, we could start customizing suits for that. And which is great because Kayla, my girl, makes suits. She started making suits in 2016, and her suit company is one of the biggest in the country now. It's crazy. Like we actually sponsor Lee Priest's daughter out in Australia.
Heck yeah.
And we've sent suits to Brazil. We've sent suits to Ireland. So we've had girls. She's had girls from all over message her, and she got into it kind of through me. I kind of introduced her to people and got her into it. But before that, like since she was 8 years old, like for a little bit of time, she lived on a reservation in Michigan, and she was, they teach you at 8 years old stitching and making jewelry and all that stuff, and she already knew how to sew. And then before that, she was working at Men's Warehouse, so she would go back sometimes and have to help those ladies get caught up on orders. So she already knew how to do all the alterations and everything. So she's like looking at these bikinis and she goes like, this is the easiest shit I could ever do. And she just started making demos and typos. And then these girls were like, well, can you make me one? Can you make me one? Can you make me one? And now it's like when spring rolls around, she's got like, you know, these suits are anywhere between $800 to $1,000.
Whoa.
And she's got like 15 orders in a month to do. So it's pretty crazy.
It's a nice little business.
Oh, very.
Yeah.
So it's like, SS Custom Suits. Yeah, if you actually go to our website, you should be able to pull it up. If you go try, that's it, I think, because you can go to, yeah, there it is.
Oh, yeah. By Kayla Marie.
Yeah, we got custom designed, and then we've got like jewelry. She started adding jewelry and everything in the last couple of years. And then she's got like team apparel.
Men's competition suits. What are those? Just like
The pose and trunks.
Pose and trunks.
Yeah, for the most part. She does like classic physique and open bodybuilding trunks.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, she's
it's a whole world. Like,
oh, dude,
it really is.
I love it, but sometimes it's like you got to step back and just be like, okay, it's
the general population probably does not understand this thing, right?
No. You try to get them to it, but I think bodybuilding's always going to be a cliche underground thing. You know, when I came up in it, it was very underground. It was very secretive. It was very hush hush, and it's opened up so much now. A lot of us older guys are just like, oh, this is overload. This is so much going on with social media and all that stuff. So it's grown a lot. So it's really awkward to us that have been around a long time to see how much it's exploded. And it's kind of like, it's great for the sport, but at the same time, you're just kind of got a little bit of that like old man, like grumpy.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things I was going to ask you about is it kind of seems like that bodybuilding style of training, maybe it was from Arnold and just that hype around him, but it kind of seems like that style of training like won as far as popularity goes. Like if a guy walks into a gym and he knows nothing else, he's like I bench, like Monday bench, you know, Monday chest, Tuesday, you know, shoulders, Wednesday back, Thursday arms, Friday legs.
What do they call it today? The bro cycle,
the bro split,
the bro split. Yeah. It's a lot of people when they go in, whether they're in their 20s, if they're not like an avid weightlifter,
even if they don't know that they're like doing bodybuilding training, like that's what it is, right?
Yeah, breaking it up. A lot of people, you know, if they come in and they play like high school sports, that's kind of what they regurgitate. If they haven't been in the gym in 5 years or haven't worked out since high school, they'll kind of just regurgitate what like their high school coach taught them, which 9 times out of 10, the high school coaches are just the guy in the neighborhood for the most part, or it's a teacher. So a lot of them come in and they're just not really knowing what they're doing. But for the most part, people come in and like, okay, I'm going to bench and do 10 reps for 3 times. And then, you know, they do 3 sets of that. So in essence, it's basic weightlifting principles. But to get into like bodybuilding, like competitive bodybuilding, it's the weightlifting and the structure. It's all goes into play to how you structure your workouts and how you put this and there, what your weaknesses are. You got to prioritize those but at the end of the day, there's sometimes I go to the gym, I'm just like, you know what, F it. I just want to lift heavy. I just want to move some shit.
Yeah. So
for the most part, you know, I think today's age, there's definitely structure to it, but I think today's age, everybody tries to act like Bill Nye. And it's just like, dude, come on, just go in and have somewhat of structure and just move some fucking weight.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you don't got to be scientific and be a nerd and break it down all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
do you know this, the midwit meme? Steve, you could pull it up. The midwit meme.
Midwit meme.
Yeah. So it's basically like the person in the middle of the curve is really smart and they got it all figured out.
Yeah.
And then there's like the idiot on the far left-hand side and then the genius on the far right-hand side.
That might correlate with what I call the Google guy.
Yeah. Here you go. Just search like, search the midwit meme and then just search like lifting, you'll see it. And it's kind of hilarious because it's really true. Yeah. Lifting weights. There you go.
That's great.
It's really true. Like the person in the middle is like, oh, you got to do this and you need to do that. And you need to like, I'm sure it exists in there, but the person on the left is just like, lift heavy weights. The person on the right is also like lift heavy weights. So, the person in the middle who's overthinking it is just doing so much that they're not kind of getting there. But I
kind of get what you're saying. That's kind of, I call it the Google guy. And the Google guy is always the person on social media that has to always sound so scientific. They're like trying to sound all smart and drive people. And then at the end of their post, they have some, hey, DM me for a program. And I'm just sitting here like, dude, everything you could probably type in the first 3 things they say and you could pull it up on Google where they got the information from. And it's just like, as a coach, you're just sitting here like, dude, these people don't know what you're talking about. You're trying to sound smart. For your clients, you want to break stuff down and make it simplified.
Yeah.
Layman's terms. You want to break everything down to where people understand it. You don't want to go up there and sound like you're building a rocket. Like, you don't need to know all these these people don't understand these terms. Like, make it easy for people to understand. That's your job as a coach and a personal trainer, is to simplify and break down everything for people so they do understand. So when they do and they go train on their own, they're going to correlate and they're going to be able to remember it easier. When you start throwing out all these fancy terms for the body and all these medical terms and stuff like that, these people are going to go, huh? And they're just going to be like, I'm not going to remember that.
Well, it's like you said, you got to simplify it. If their program is so complicated and they can't remember, well, what was the percentage that I was supposed to do? And wait, was I supposed to do 3 or 4? And how many reps left in the tank am I supposed? Just like, hey man, just lift until it like starts to burn.
Reps and reserve and all this other stuff.
Lift until it starts to burn, and try not to tear a muscle. You don't need to go for 100%. Just do that over and over.
That's why, I don't do too many online like weightlifting programs. I'll design some for a few people that I know that I've trained in the past that I know they're going to be able to take what I put on the program and they're going to be able to know when to go to failure. Most people don't know how to train a failure. So when people are buying these programs online, 9 times out of 10, they're not doing them correctly because they don't physically know how to train a failure. So when I've had clients in the past that maybe have moved or moved away, like I get a girl in Florida and I've got other people that just life took over, but I still send them their programs. They know when they train with me what failure is. Yeah. They know what to train to because I've pushed them to that point before. So that's when I think programming goes good. The other where it goes bad is when you sign up with some guy on Instagram and you buy a program from them, which 9 times 10, those people just probably got it off bodybuilding.com.
Right.
That's when you don't know, especially if you're new to it, you don't know how to push yourself. You don't know that limit. And most people don't know their limit. So when you tell somebody, hey, train till you got 2 or 3 reps in reserve or all this other stuff, they're going to be like, reserve? What? Huh? Is it reserve? Is that a wine? Like, it's like, what is it? So it's hard for that point. And that kind of brings me to another point is I always think when it comes to like online compared to in-person, always go with an in-person coach. By far, you'll get better results. You'll have somebody that can push you in person past what you normally would push yourself. And this comes true on leg day. Right? So Steve knows. So most people, when it comes to like leg and back days, they don't push themselves hard enough. So if you get a program from somebody online, you're going to go through the workout. You might get a little sore. But when you take that same workout and you have somebody or a coach in person that's pushing you, you're going to get more weight. You're going to get more reps on that. You're going to push yourself past failure or to failure at least. And you're going to get much, much better out of the workout and much, much more for your money. But some point people are limited or they have a crazy lifestyle, so they have to opt for online programming. But if you have the opportunity to train with a person in person, like actually physically in person, by all means do that. You'll get more for your money.
Which brings me to you opening up your gym. How did you make that decision that it was time to open a gym? Because it sounds like you'd trained people at other gyms for a long period of time. And I know you opened it during COVID, which is like
crazy.
It's kind of the opposite of what everybody else in the gym was doing. Yeah, gyms were closing, you know? I mean, my gym, they had no idea what was going on. They're like, hey, you know, if you can keep your membership going, like we'll get you guys in the future. I think they had no idea how long lockdowns were going to last. Which
nobody did. Like nobody had any idea how long it was going to last. And, you know, as a trainer, I've always been an independent trainer. So I always like paid a floor fee. So I ran my own ship at Metro. And I'm just sitting there, like me and a couple of the other trainers are just like, what do we do? Like, how am I going to get an income? And it was scary. Like it was scary times. And I'd say a couple of weeks after, I was like, you know what? I got money in the bank. I was like, let me see how I'm going to do this. So I started looking around for properties, like nothing was available. Like there was no commercial real estate whatsoever.
Because you said you're very independent. You just wanted to say, I'm not beholden to anybody opening their gym.
Right.
Because if their gym isn't open, it's like you don't have a choice. You don't really get
so being succumbed to somebody else, I didn't like that. And I think that takes me back to like when I got the motorcycle wreck. I don't like being told no. And it's kind of the government telling you no. And I'm like, okay, well, F you. So I opened up a speakeasy gym.
Yeah, so, I like that.
So I started buying some equipment basics and got hooked up with a guy here in town, Mike Diamond, who's over on Roberts Road on Hilliard. Great guy, always has equipment. I always refer people to him or my buddy Mike out at Blockbuster Fitness out in Dayton. And those two guys were going in, and a lot of the gyms were going out of business. And they were going in and buying the gyms for a penny on the dollar. So I started, like I said, accumulating all that equipment and had a badass gym in my garage.
Was this the idea that, hey, this is just a gym for me initially? Or are you
I got it for my clients.
I know.
Like I bought everything for my clients, yeah. And a lot of it too was for me, but a lot of it was I didn't want to lose the income from my clients. Like I was making really good money, and before COVID hit, it was my all-time best as a trainer. And at the same time, I'm like, where are they going to train? Like like even apartments were shutting down their apartment gyms.
Yeah, jeez.
So everybody's just like, and then you looking online and people are just like price gouging. It was like $3 a pound on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm not paying this crap. So luckily I found Mike Diamond and Mike out in Dayton. And with those two guys, I started just slowly buying a piece here, buying a piece there. I'd buy a couple chest pieces, a couple leg pieces. I bought a squat rack. And before I know it, my complete garage is full. And then my sunroom was full. And at that point, it's just like, okay, my whole house is like a gym now. I was like, I got to go find property. And then I stumbled across the property over by Hilliard completely by accident. There was no rent signs or anything out the front. Got the guy's number online, Fraser Development, called, didn't have anything, but he called me back a month later and said, hey, you know, maybe ask these mechanic guys if they would downsize. And went over, talked to these guys, and they're like, oh, well, let us think about it. Within a week, they called me back like, yeah, you can take one of our units. So, and they were only doing work for, I think, like the Postal Service, working on the Postal Service stuff. And then they were working for, I think it was Jim Kime Ford at the time, helping their overflow. So they were good to kind of unload on having to pay, you know, chop their rent in half.
Yeah.
So I took it over at that point, started moving things in, and then just kind of kept everything on the DL through most of COVID. And I told my clients, I'm like, look, you guys can train here. And I put a little key code entry on the door. I was like, if you tell anybody or word gets out, you're done.
Yeah.
So it was very like prohibition.
Yeah.
At the point.
Well, it's so silly now looking back that we all sort of know like your health and fitness is the primary thing that's going to help you fend off sickness. And I mean, that's not just COVID. That's any sickness or illness.
And if you or anybody that spoke out, you got demonetized, and I remember I had to like restart my whole Instagram page because I was promoting physical health, and I was very.
How dare you?
I wouldn't say, I'm just sitting here like, you guys are getting all these vaccines. These things, everything was getting passed through and everything. And I'm just like, where's the human randomized trials on this? Like, where's this? Where's that? Oh no, it's fine. Just take it. And I'm just sitting there like, I used to read a lot of research papers and everything over the years for diet, nutrition, and stuff like that. But I'm just sitting here like, man, this kind of goes against the grain. I don't know about this. And still to this day, I never got a COVID shot. So,
well, I mean, regardless of whether you think, oh, you should get vaccinated or not, I mean, just saying like, hey, you should try to become really, really healthy and fit and well. That's going to help you in any regard.
It was almost like they were more against that than anything.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here like these people are just sitting at home, just getting the COVID 20. The freshman 15 when you're in school. This is like the COVID 20.
Yeah.
And these people are just getting so out of shape. And anybody that dared to speak up against that, I mean, how dare you? You got smacked down or you got demonetized or, your page would get hits on it and everything. And I remember it's like I had up to like 6,000 or 7,000 followers, which I know is not a lot on Instagram, but I had to like start my page all over.
Well, yeah, it's a lot, it's significant for you,
Yeah.
Right?
So now it's like, I'm just sitting here like, I think I got like 3,200 followers or something like that, which, whatever, it is what it is. I'm done with social media.
Yeah. Right.
But I'm just sitting here like, guys, you guys really like kicked my page down because I was speaking out against it. And it's crazy because you look at people like, look what they did with Joe Rogan, with the ivermectin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's just a crazy time, man. And I think it kind of stems back to this idea that we don't really have a good way of talking about health and fitness.
We don't.
In the United States. Mm-hmm. And so many people know so little, which is kind of shocking because there's so much information out there, maybe almost too much information. Mm-hmm. Just like you said, keep it simple. Like any of my friends who want to lose some weight, specifically if they want to lose weight or whatever, get healthy, I'm just like, just start walking more and take the food that you're already eating and just substitute it out with a lower calorie version. I'm like, if you do those two things, like you eat pasta sauce, whatever, you make spaghetti on Tuesday night, just go look at the label. The one you buy has 450 calories a bottle. There's one that has 250.
Absolutely. There's always an alternative. Now, every company understands that, and they understand that you have to cater to people that are trying to live a healthier lifestyle. So you could go get like you said, like a pasta sauce. I don't think is there even a healthy Alfredo sauce? Probably doesn't exist.
It's like an oxymoron.
Yeah, right. Probably tastes like watered down milk.
Yeah.
But if you're looking like a spaghetti sauce, you could get one that has 100 calories per serving, or you could get one that's got, I think Ragu's got one that's like 35. Mm-hmm. So a lot of today, it's just teaching people. And I remember my dad used to work special duty at Giant Eagle, and he kept trying to get me to take the job, but I didn't want to work for a grocery store. I didn't have time to do it. But they had like nutritionists or people that were dietitians or people that were smart with it that would walk people around that wanted to help.
Wow.
Would walk around with you to the store and help you pick out like healthy food options and stuff. So
that'd actually probably be a fun job as like a nutritionist.
Yeah, and try to help people make better choices. They'd be like, "Oh, I like Oreo cookies." Okay, well, if they have the reduced fat Oreos, so, I like Coke. Okay, well, can you please try Diet Coke? Yeah. It's just making little calorie reductions like that and helping people pick out food. It'd be a great job for somebody, but I just remember like the pay wasn't that good and the hours it was too conflicting with my schedule.
Yeah.
But that'd be a great job for somebody. So shout out to Giant Eagle for trying to do that.
Yeah, well, that's a wise idea. And yeah, to your point, just making those little substitutions. And you said, again, you don't want to blow somebody's whole life up and be like, okay, you don't get cookies anymore. You're going to train 5 days a week. I know you were not training at all.
These people, they'll be riding in the streets with picket fences.
Yeah.
Pitchforks.
And I tell people like, don't set yourself up for failure. Like if you hate running, don't be like, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and go for a run. It's like, well, no, you're not. Maybe you will twice or 3 times.
They'll do it a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's tough for people to understand that, hey, set yourself up for a thing that you're going to be able to do for the next like 10 years.
Right.
I recently read this very quick book that it's not by Warren Buffett. It's about kind of his quotes, and it's like 43 of his life lessons. And the biggest thing that I took away is he's thinking about things over like generational timelines. He's like, if you can't do this for, 10 years, like don't start thinking about this. Like if you're not willing to hold this stock for 10 years, don't hold it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of a lot of things in life, whether that be starting your business, if you can't do that for a long period of time, whether that be a fitness regimen, diet, nutrition, like any of these things that you're setting yourself up for. If you can't see yourself doing this for the next 10 years, like what's the short-term benefit of it? Because all the returns in life are compounding. So you're not going to get almost any returns lifting weights or being healthy and fit immediately. You're going to like start to maybe see a little something like 3 months in, 5 months, 10 months, 2 years in. And then you see somebody you haven't seen for like 5 years and they're like, dang, like you look like you're pretty fit,
Yeah.
So
that's, the long-term investment, your health is, they always say health is wealth, But when you actually, if you compare the two, they're very similar. Like you said, with Warren Buffett and long-term investments, stock options and all other stuff, it's the same with your health. When you invest into something long-term, it does affect your wealth. They coexist, because you look at, like, if you're overweight, you're obese, you got high blood pressure, what do you think your insurance rate's going to be? What do you think your life insurance policy is going to be? What do you think all that's going to be when you're down the road? What are you going to think if you're 300, 400 something pounds in your car? All that excess weight in your car is going to be wear and tear on your shocks and your joint. I mean, this is all stuff that can affect your daily cost of living. Mm-hmm. So when you invest into yourself, when you can improve all that, your insurance rate, your health insurance rate goes down. You got less wear and tear on things. It's not just how you look. It's how you are on the inside. It's everything around you. Being in shape and being healthy affects everything in your life, your wealth, everything.
Yeah. And there's this quote that I love where it's hard choices create an easy life. Easy choices create a hard life. Yeah. Right. So it's like, oh, the easy choice is like, I just eat fast food and like whatever, like it tastes good and I eat cookies and whatever I want. But you're creating a hard life in the future for yourself, mm-hmm. because you're going to either rob yourself of years, or you're going to rob yourself of healthy years, or, gosh, my knees just hurt. And it's like, hey, well, you made all those easy choices. So now you're kind of like dealing with the hard reality of what that is. And that's the biggest thing for me, man. I think so many people don't even know what it feels like to like feel good in their body, just because they
probably never have.
Yeah, they become conditioned to like, like my back just hurts. Like, I don't know, like my neck hurts, my head hurts. They have this like level of like chronic inflammation mm-hmm. that just persists throughout, and they can't even tell that it's there because it's become like the new normal.
Right. And I think with inflammation and all that other stuff, everything goes back to your diet and what you eat. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, everybody likes McDonald's once in a while. I think everybody would like McDonald's. I like McDonald's once in a while. But when you're chronic,
McDonald's hash brown, oh man,
those are good. Yeah, come on. I'm usually, if I go there, I either get, like, if it's a cheat meal and I don't feel like going out somewhere, it's usually the Big Mac meal, 2 extra patties, no middle. I always tell them no middle bun piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's 4 patties, no middle bun piece, and then I always get a large fry and sweet tea.
Dang, that's really balling right there.
Oh man, it's great. It's good. It's not too much. It's not too little. It's a little calorie spike for the day, and then I'm good for the week.
Well, Steve, man, let's take a quick break, and then we'll pop back in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So obviously, this is kind of generic advice, but what's the best thing that you think you can impart upon someone who's looking to kind of change their health and wellness and fitness routine and regimen? We're about to hit Jan 1,
Oh yeah, you're going to get what's crazy is I think a lot of it's, local here in Columbus. I think that whole New Year's resolution thing has changed a lot. I think it's the Arnold resolution. I think people, when January rolls around, people they're starting to get all their bills from Christmas and they're like, shit, I can't, this, that, and that. I think before the Arnold hits, then I think after people go to the Arnold, that's when people are like motivated. If they go down there, or seeing it's just the fact that the whole city just that weekend and that week revolves around. I think here in Columbus and Ohio, that is like when that's like people's resolution that's when they want to jump on and make a better change. I think what I would tell people is you need to go in with the mindset of embrace the difficult and embrace I don't want to say embrace the suck because that's pretty cliche, but challenge yourself, like make things difficult and understand that you're not going to make changes doing what you're currently doing. I mean, that's the definition of stupidity. Yeah. It's just doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. That's usually what I tell people. I'm like, look, when people sign up, I'm like, what have you been doing? Well, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, I've been doing this. Okay, well, you're not going to do that anymore. You have to understand that you're making a lifestyle change. Once you get past that and you understand that you have to change things and you have to accept that, that's when it becomes pretty easy. And for people that want to make a change in fitness, no matter what their goal is, you have to accept that change has to be made. And for some people, it's a comfort thing. They don't want to. And I tell people, like, look, you can still be comfortable, but you have to adjust your comfort level to a certain point. And then once you change that comfort level, and things might be difficult at first, but then guess what? you're going to get comfortable in that new habitat. You're going to get comfortable in that new routine, and you're going to get comfortable with going to the gym every day. And then it's going to get to the point where when you're not going to the gym every day, you're uncomfortable. A lot of people, you got to flip it. So when people are comfortable not going to the gym, and you start to, and you force yourself, whether you go with a friend or you go with a buddy, and you're going for months and months, and then all of a sudden work comes up and you can't make your Monday workout and you're pissed off. That's when you know that you've made it. That's when you know you've gotten to the point where, oh, wow, I'm actually mad that I couldn't get to my workout. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because then you're in the mindset that you've made that change. You've took something that was difficult to get to, and it become a daily function of your life. And you're comfortable going to the gym. You're comfortable pushing yourself. You're comfortable challenging yourself. That is the point you want to get to. And a lot of it's just kind of, for people, it's flipping the narrative and flipping it on its head.
Most definitely getting kind of acclimated to being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's this great book, and I recommend it to so many people. It's called The Comfort Crisis by this author, Michael Easter.
Never heard of him.
And great book, man. You'd probably love it. But basically, he kind of talks about all of these things that modern society have given us, which are great. They're fantastic. They're awesome. We're excited to have them. But they've sort of made life so comfortable for us that there are these things that we had to historically always do. Obviously, movement being one of them.
Right.
You know, whether that's like long endurance walks and things like that, or we had to be comfortable both being, you know, in the cold and being in the hot. Like, you didn't always have like a 72 degree air conditioned building. So when people walk outside and it's 40 degrees, they're like, oh, it's so cold outside. It's like, look, your ancient ancestors would have slept out in this. So like, think about that when you walk outside and you're cold, being out there for 5 minutes. And he ends up going on this hunt through the Arctic Circle with Donnie Vincent, and they're hunting caribou. And he's like, yeah, after a while, like, I started out really cold, but I just kind of got acclimated to it.
Used to it, yeah.
Yeah, and then he talks about these other things that we've just made comfortable, whether that be always constantly being near food, you know, so you never have to fast. You never have to go 12, 16, 24 hours without eating. You never have to be alone and be in silence, like by yourself. You know, you always have something at your fingertips. Like, I'm bored, I can go look at Instagram. I can go look at TikTok. All of these things that we historically had to do, we don't have to do any longer, and they're hurting us in so many ways. So
That's
you have
a really good point. I'd probably, what's it, Comfort Crisis?
Oh, so good. Such a good book. And he's a great author. I love the way he writes. He'll write about like kind of a scientific topic, and then boom, he's back in the Arctic, and he's telling you like, oh, so like I had to walk, you know, like 50 miles over the last, 4 days, and talks about the movement and the science behind it. And then boom, he'll talk about the science behind being cold. And I am in the Arctic, and it's, I'm sleeping in a sleeping bag that's, it's supposed to be rated for negative 50 degrees. And
that'd be right up. I'm going to look into that, because that type of stuff really, I love. So like when I'm at the gym and stuff, and I like watching, you ever watch the bushcraft videos?
No.
You never watch the bushcraft videos?
No.
It's these guys that, they're on YouTube. They're all over the place, but they just go out in the woods, kind of like that guy, and they'll go out for like 5 to 7 days with nothing
just
but
rough
like
it, kinda.
An axe.
Yeah.
And they'll go out in the middle of winter. Sometimes it's winter, sometimes it's and they'll like build like these shelters out of like tree branches, and then they'll build a fire and they live in there.
I think I have seen, maybe not that one, but a guy who will do similar. He'll
in a way, it's so calming and relaxing to see people like do it, and you're like, oh my god, it's like the sun's going down. This guy doesn't have his shelter built yet. For some reason, it's relaxing. It's
that's hilarious.
Yeah, bushcraft survival.
Yeah, but kind of
I don't like that guy.
To put a bow on it, obviously YouTube. To put a bow on it,
yeah, that guy's good right there.
Everyone has become
Betram 6 days. He's good. I watch him.
Everyone's become so just acclimated with like, I never have to like struggle,
Yeah.
or like there's no point during my day that I need to be uncomfortable. That we've become so far away from that. When you go to the gym, or when you even think about going to the gym, you're like, ugh.
That's always been, that's another saying I always tell my clients is comfort kills.
Yeah.
It really does. And I call it the baby powder effect. Everybody's just has to be babied all the time, and everybody asks, you can't say this, can't do that. You don't want to push your body too hard. You don't want to do this. There's always repercussions if you train too hard or don't do this, don't do that. I'm looking, as far as like in the bodybuilding world, everybody today is just so scientific, and a lot of us old heads are just sitting back and going, we'd go to the gym and train for an hour and a half, 2 hours. In my opinion, those were the best looking physiques.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we weren't training with different types of stim units hooked up to us and all this other stuff. We just went in there and would go a little crazy and get psyched up and maybe drink a little bit of a pre-workout, which back in the day, the pre-workouts, everybody today's blessed in that point as far as supplements go. Because back in the day, the supplements were complete, just like, you knew you were just like a lab rat.
Wild West.
And none of them tasted good.
Yeah.
I think the only protein bars that tasted good was one called like the Steel Bar, which was kind of like a chewy Tootsie Roll type texture. And then the original Metrics bars, like the cookie dough, those were good. But then you had like all of the pre-made energy, like Europa used to distribute, like we were talking about earlier. Like the ABB was a brand that had like the Ripped Force Speed Stacks.
Yep.
And these suckers would have like 120-ounce speed stack would have like 25 milligrams of ephedra, 250 milligrams of caffeine.
Jeez.
You would drink half this thing and you're just like at the bench press, just shaking. And if you weren't used to it, you were just sitting there. I remember I drank a whole one time and I forgot that I took Twin Lab, which is an older company, used to have a product called Rip Fuel, which was weight loss pills, energy pills. And which I had no means I needed because I was always naturally skinny, but I wanted it for before a wrestling meet. I was like in high school, and I took one before a wrestling match, and not even through the first period, I'm like ran to the trash can and just threw up because my nervous system was so shot from it. And my coach was like, "What the hell?" And it's like my dad gave it to him. He was pissed. He was so mad at my dad.
Yeah, man. And there's stories of supplement companies back in the day. It's way more regulated now, and it's probably a blessing in some ways. I don't really love when the government gets involved because usually I think they just muddy the works more than anything else. But there's rumors about companies they would put like ephedra in their first 1,000 units of pre-workout. They wouldn't put it on the label, but they would just put it in. Somebody takes it and they're like, "Oh wow, this is amazing," and then they stop. So then you keep coming back.
Yeah, a lot of them, what they would do is they would make their sample packets like way over potent.
Yeah,
and then when you actually buy the actual product, you're like, "Wait a minute, this is kind of like watered down. This is like vodka.
Yeah,
like this isn't the same."
Well, I mean, Blackstone Labs. I mean, Aaron Sigerman, went to jail for that.
He's out, and then I think
he is out.
PJ gets out soon.
And they were putting testosterone in their like testosterone boosters.
I think it was a type of androgen they were putting in there. Yeah, I think it was more than likely it was probably like one of the 19 Nors, which have been banned for years. I can't remember exactly what they put in there. I didn't follow it too close, but I know, they were the DEA was up their ass real quick.
I got a funny Aaron Sigerman story just because I'm remembering this now. We were at the Arnold Expo. This was probably 7 years ago, and we were talking to them not about Blackstone. I don't think. I think it was Redcon at that point. And we sit down. We're sitting in that like little dining area at the expo center.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting and we're just talking because we just wanted somewhere to like go and talk. And the waiter comes up and they're like, "Do you guys want to order anything?" We're like, "No, we're fine. Like we're just drinking water, whatever." They come back and they're like, "You guys need to order something or you're going to have to get out of here. Get out of this table." Right? Which in fairness, like there's a ton of people. They are actually waiting to eat. And we're just kind of like, we're doing a meeting. Aaron Sigerman pulls out like a wad of cash, like hundreds, and he like peels a couple off and he's like, "What do you guys want to drink?" And I was like, "I'll have a Heineken."
I'll have a Heineken.
And she's like, "Okay." No, and I think she was like, "It's like $300 an hour for the table." And he's just like, "Here." And she walked away. I was like,
"For a table?
I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" He was like the big dog at that point in time. I mean, but you look at it and what did it cost, to live like that and be like that.
Yeah, he was definitely living it up in Florida.
He was a wild dude. He also told us stories. Gosh, this is crazy, man. He would tell us stories that they had a guy who was legitimately, I think, a drug cartel that would buy their products and sell it on Amazon just to like wipe the money.
Oh, really?
And he's like, we would drive out into the desert and he would like buy stuff with cash. I was like, whoa, this is wild. You know, what's real, what's fiction, hard to tell and parse out. But yeah, man, it was a funny time to be in the industry.
Got all these shell accounts.
Yeah, man. So you talk about your gym.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to build a gym out for our business as we move to the new facility. I don't know if you saw, we have a small gym, you know. But maybe give me your recommendation on what are the core pieces that you need at like a office / it's more than a home gym, but it's certainly not like commercial. But we'll have probably 1,500 square feet, something like that.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
What are your must-have equipment pieces?
Brand wise, I would definitely go with like a hammer strength.
I like hammer strength.
And I think if you're starting out, try to go around and find like gently used. Because the hammer strength will last forever.
Yeah, it's like a car, man. It depreciates right when you move it off the lot.
If you take care of it and you treat it well, hammer strength will last forever. It is a staple in the industry. Very good commercial grade equipment. Hammer strength, find some older Cybex pieces.
Okay.
Some Precore stuff's pretty good. Precore, I would stick to mostly like their cardio stuff. Precore's got really good treadmills, really good ellipticals, steppers. They're the top dog, I would say, with the cardio stuff. As far as equipment goes, as far as like what pieces, definitely like a bench, just a regular bench press.
Yep.
And I would get more like Elite Fitness is a good company. They're actually just right down the road out in London.
Yep.
You get like a good $800,000 like competitive bench that's going to have like safety spots on the side and whatnot like that. And then you can also, if it's got like band hookups on the bottom, you could hook bands up to it. That would be a good bench. And they have a couple different models that you can get. Just get like a basic one. You don't need anything like too fancy or anything like that. So
you got a bench?
Definitely squat rack. Get
rack.
A competitive squat rack. I wouldn't get anything that's cheap from like Dick's or anything. Get a good brand. Elite Fitness does that too. That or a guy I train, Luke, is the manager up at G&G Fitness, which is actually on Sawmill, and it's owned by the Gronkowskis.
Oh,
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
G&G.
Yeah,
okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so like the father runs it, and then I don't know how much Rob's involved in it, but I know like his brothers help run it and stuff. So I think didn't his brother play for Cleveland?
I'm not sure.
I think one of the brothers played for Cleveland for a little bit.
Gosh, that family, you know, if you like see them, you're like, geez, these are like monsters.
You know, they'd always come in because I think they're friends with the people that own Flanagan's.
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that. So why am I not surprised by that?
Right. So they would, the guy Luke I train, he said that, oh, hey, they're coming in for St. Patty's Day or something like that. And, you know, that family's wild.
Okay, you got your bench, you got your squat rack.
And then I would get like some type of like pec fly machine.
A pec fly machine.
Yeah. And then definitely like a...
one that can maybe also do like a reverse, like kind of
behind. Like for delts, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And then definitely like a cable crossover where you got like a multi-unit.
Yeah.
You can get like either a big one or like I got a smaller unit in my place. And it only cost me, I think it was like $2,200. And it's got where you can slide up and down and do triceps, biceps on the bottom.
I think
you
cable is definitely
pull-ups on the top.
A helpful one. People, man, you can do a lot of different things with it.
There's so many things you can do with that. You're going to save money just buying one of those.
Okay.
And then as far as like legs go, definitely like a leg press. That's always a staple.
Leg press, okay.
Yeah. And then if you want to go a little bit further, you could even get like a hack squat.
Some of them do both, you know.
Yeah. You got the ones that can kind of go back and forth. But again, if you're trying to stay with like good commercial grade, I would just flat out like for what you're going to pay, you could get a used hack squat for anywhere between like $800 to $1,500, depending on the brand and how good a shape it's in.
Okay.
And then a good leg press. God, the marking on those is so all over the place. But neither it's like for like $2,000, you could get both those. But I know like if people are on a budget, I think it's like Titan Fitness.
Yep,
Titan Fitness, you can buy like the combo one like that. I love the belt squat. Belt squat is
one that I would like to have.
Yeah, and for people that have like lower back issues, like my lower back is awful. So it's not terrible, but it gives me days, and you know I go into train legs, and I'm like, not squatting today. So the belt squat is amazing, and I know they just picked up one on Titan Fitness that they're selling as well. And I think I want to say it's like maybe $700 or $800. So it's fairly priced, and I would definitely say for legs on that, for back, definitely just some extra bars, maybe like a deadlift platform that you can do deadlifts off of. You can do bent over barbell rows, stuff like that. Pretty basic. And then maybe like a lat pull down machine.
Okay. Yep.
So like a used lat pull down machine, or you can get a new one too. New ones are, I think Titan's got one that's got a 300-pound stack on it, I think for like $1,600 or $1,800. And the good thing about Titan is they have like free shipping. So that's always, because you pay for shipping on that. That's an extra $400 or $500 easily. And I think Titan's based out of like Kentucky area, so it's not too far. But as far as that goes, dumbbells. You can't go wrong with, get like a bench that you can adjust. You can do an incline or a decline on, and then just a good set of dumbbells. And, get something that's within your range and then some. Always get weights that are heavier than what you can currently use, because that's your goal, is to push towards that. You can get a set of like 10s to 50s, for under $2,000. So altogether, you might be, $8 to $10,000 into it, depending on if you go the used route. New route, you'd probably spend a little bit more. But some of the stuff I would definitely buy new, like the universal machines that you slide up and down for triceps and crossovers and stuff. That I would buy new. That's definitely worth the investment.
Noticeably, you didn't have anything for leg extensions or leg curls.
Yeah, definitely those. Yeah,
sorry, okay.
I left those out.
All right.
I left those out.
You don't have any of the
I didn't know if you're wanting to go like bare bones or how in depth.
Somewhere in between.
Because you could start with this one, then you're like, well, I need this one. Well, I need that one. Before you know it, you got like 40 pieces in a 1,500 square foot place.
Sometimes you go into these gyms and they have like very obscure machines, and you're like, that seems like maybe not necessary.
But I mean, if you're trying to save money, like everybody, like Elite Fitness, Legend, which is a company out of Southern, I want to say Tennessee, and then Arsenal is a new company. Arsenal, they all now make like economical pieces. Like they got a piece where it's a leg extension and you can just flip it. It's a leg curl.
Nice. So
that would be something that you could buy. So you don't have to buy two separate pieces. That affordability wise is going to be good, and then space wise, and as far as your footprint, it's not going to take up much. You also didn't have anything for like hip abduction, anything like that. I think a lot of the, like on the universal machine, you could get like the they kind of look like wristbands, but you put them around your ankle, and you can do like side raises for your leg. You can do front. Most of that stuff you can do just through form and different types of like variations of leg and foot placement on squats. So as far as like ab and adduction machines, I think if you're going for a gym, yeah, those are a must. I got them in my gym. I got Cybex as the brand, and those things will last forever. Yep. But if you're just going for like a small home gym, buying those two machines is going to take up a pretty good footprint. Yeah. And those are something that you're going to hit regardless on how you place your feet on the leg press or how you squat. You're still going to hit those. So I wouldn't necessarily say that is an absolute at the top of the tier must, but if you have enough room, why not throw them in? Yeah, you also didn't have like a chest press like machine or like that classic hammer strength. Oh yeah, machine. I got one of my. That's my favorite. Okay, that's my favorite. Yeah, I would say to round everything out, a chest press, a plate load. Plate load, yeah, not one that you have to plate load, not one that's a actual machine that has the weight stack. Yeah, the plate loads is where you're going to get. And then money wise, where your money's going to go is the weights and how much weights you buy, because everything right now is about $1, anywhere between $1.47 to, depending if you go on Amazon, almost $2 a pound. So sometimes you can find stuff cheaper. Like sometimes like Dick's will run specials, believe it or not, and sometimes you can get stuff pretty cheap on Dick's. Like plates and stuff. Yeah, and then you just gotta kind of play the game. And with Christmas coming up, I would wait after, and that's anybody that's listening. I would wait till probably early January, because everybody's going to be returning stuff, and then all these companies are going to be stuck with product on shelf that they need to resell, and they will be selling stuff like dirt cheap. Yeah, and you obviously do a bodybuilding gym, but what about cardio equipment? Do you have anything that you guys utilize? Treadmill, walking. If depends where your basics is going to be, like an elliptical, a treadmill, like a recumbent bike. Yeah. A lot of it is, if you're a gym, you got to look at your clientele base. Yeah. Obviously, if you got people that come in that do more like CrossFit stuff, you want to have like spin bikes and assault bikes and stuff like that. We got an assault bike out there. God, that thing's the worst. Yeah, it's brutal. I love it though. Yeah, so I got like a little miniature one in my gym. But those are great. And the thing with cardio equipment is I always, regardless, like try to find a used treadmill, but get a commercial grade. That used in good shape commercial grade is going to last you longer than that one you bought at Walmart.
Right.
Because those they're called like a standard treadmill. They're only those are for home, and they're going to take a beating, and over a year, it's going to go to junk. Mm-hmm. So you're better off getting something that's like the one at my gym. It's the Nautilus. And the thing is a tank. Yeah. It's heavy. Even to lift it up for me to clean under it, I dread it. Because it's so heavy. It's solid steel, but with gym equipment, you get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. If you try to go to the cheap route, you're going to be replacing it really soon. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that would be my basics for cardio: a treadmill, elliptical, and then an assault bike or like a regular, like a recumbent bike. Because some people don't want to get on it. Like me, at the end of my workout, I'm so exhausted. I just get on the recumbent bike and I pedal. And I either watch TV or I'm answering emails or doing work related stuff while I'm on there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get on the treadmill, but for me, I like the recumbent bike. Yeah. I'm not a big cardio guy.
Yeah. Well, Steve, man, I really appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely.
Tell everybody where they can find you, catch up with you, maybe visit the gym. I know you said it's private, not private, open to the public. Catch up with you and just kind of find out all the stuff that you're doing, follow you, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody's interested in seeing Flex Barbell, we have our Instagram page, which is Flex Barbell Columbus. Just shoot us a DM, say he'd like to go on a tour. Us, kind of being private, like I said, all of our doors are always locked during the day, so you can't just come in and walk in like a normal gym. Yep. So what we tell everybody is just, hey, shoot us a DM. What time works for you? We'll make sure we can meet you there. We'll take you on, it takes 5 minutes to take a tour around the gym. And then if anybody would like to sign up. And then right now through the end of the year, we're running $24.95 a month. You pay first and last month up front. We don't charge any maintenance fees, no enrollment fees, none of that stuff. So you're not going to get bamboozled with like $100 and something up front. We don't do contracts. We don't do any of that stuff. And then as far as if you want to look at some pictures online, or one thing that's done really good, it surprises me and Kayla, is our merchandise. So if you go to flexandfit.net, which is FLEX, the letter N, FIT.net, and you go up the top and click on apparel, I think it actually takes you to her SS Custom Suit site. But we have so much like different flex clothing, as far as like we got like crop tops for the girls, and our logo is pretty sweet. It's a pretty cool logo, and I think it's because of that. Like we'll get orders and sell stuff, and I'm just like, people have never been to our gym and they're buying like all this clothing. I was like, we must be doing something right. But it gives the option what it is like the merch guy we went through. If you order, they work with like different people, so it's not like we're making the clothing, but we get a certain cut of it. Yep. But it gives us the option to have like tons of different colors, different designs. Like we got tie-dyes, crop tops, tank tops, book bags, gym bags, stuff like that. So people can go there and check that out for something they want to get as a holiday gift. And then as far as like social media, man, it's hard to remember all my handles.
We can get them, tag them in.
Instagram would just be bbuildersteve _ IFBB Pro. They can check me out. Anybody interested in personal training, just message me directly through there. Or if they want to, just go to the flexandfit.net, shoot us an email through there, and I'll get back to them through there as well. So,
you taking clients right now for your personal training business?
Yeah, it depends on the time of day. Pretty limited. I can't really do mornings because I got my kiddos in the morning. So she goes off to work, and then I have the kids in the morning till I get them to school. And then right after that, I usually get to the gym about 10 o'clock. So usually about mid-afternoon, I can take clients, and then evening as well. Evening's kind of like the time that people fight over. Yeah. So between like 5 and 7, nobody wants to train past 7, but nobody can really get there before like 4:35, right? Because of people's work schedule. So it's that like little 2-hour window that everybody's like fighting over. But yeah, I got a couple spots at couple of my evening spots that they can inquire about. And then they could also, if they just want to directly email me, it would be stevefit@hotmail.com. That's STEVEFIT@hotmail.com.
Hotmail, man. That's way back.
Dude, I've had
showing your age here, Steve.
I've had that email. I think I started it like when I was in college, because I didn't like Ohio State's email, and it was just, I hated answer. Like Ohio State's was just junk. I didn't like it. And it just was always like tons of stuff coming in. And like my Google email would have like 100 spam in it every day. And I'm just like, so I got Hotmail, and I get spam through there, but it's pretty limited. It's not as bad. So
it's good, man. Steve, I really appreciate you, man. It's insightful stuff. You're a knowledgeable dude, and I'm really just happy you came in.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you, brother.
All right, no problem, man. Thank you.